Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you are brand new here, my name is Clarissa, welcome in. And today we're just going to talk a little bit about the summer slowdown that some of you may be feeling right now, and a little bit about two different types of selling, one being like niche selling and garage sale or thrift store selling. So if this content interests you, definitely stick around and let's get started. All right, so summer slowdown. Are you feeling it? Are you feeling it right now? I have seen some stuff on social media just talking about how sales have just been slow and it feels like crickets out there. It is the end of June right now, which is technically the beginning of summer, but it isn't uncommon, depending upon what you're selling, for the sales to just kind of taper off. I, of course, think that there's a couple of different reasons for that. I'm always just sharing my own opinion, my own experiences with you to hopefully bring some insight or some thoughts. But I'm definitely interested in your thoughts as well. I think that when summertime comes, children are just out of school, and not just children, college kids and adults that are in school. There's a break time in there. There's an increase in vacationing and applying money to different things. So when you put all of those things in the pot, it just seems to result in less people purchasing or seeing a reduction in sales overall. Over the years, I do think that this is pretty normal. When you're comparing your sales from, a week to week basis or even a month by month basis, it may seem like a drastic dip at certain times of the year or a drastic increase at certain times of the year. But when you, like for me, I compare over the course of a variety of years. I've been selling for quite a few years now. And when I compare this time of year to 2022 to 2021, there is very little change in when I look at the big picture of volume and of sales. So I think that it's just a very normal pattern in any business that you have. There will always be the peaks and the lows, right? There are going to be times that are just great sales, and then there are going to be times that sales might tank a little. So understanding that pattern will definitely be beneficial to be able to tuck a little money back aside if you can when you have those great sale months, and then that will kind of help you sustain through the process when you're having the slow sale months. Throwing a couple of tips out there: this is the perfect time to get some organization done. This may be some perfect time to get some family time in. This will be some the perfect time to be able to restructure things if that's what you're looking to do. Maybe get to that death pile that you haven't had a chance to get to, or maybe even source, depending upon where you live. This may be a great time to source more merchandise for your business. So there are some ideas there on what you could possibly do when you're having that slower season. I personally like to use this time to just get things organized, and I wouldn't say that I really slow down on the volume that I list. I guess that's kind of its own fluctuation depending upon whatever goals I have in place and whatever plans I have going on. But I do like to use that quieter time that I'm not shipping as much, I'm not putting as much time into that, into applying into areas that kind of take the back burner when I am super busy and I'm trying to time crunch everything. But depending upon how your business operates, it could make a difference if this is even a factor for your business, or if this is something that's just very, very normal, or something to expect, right? Ongoing, if you're new into this, or it's something that you're thinking about doing, to consider being a factor in a reselling business. How you operate your business definitely makes a difference. And that goes into my second topic for today, because I think that it really does make a difference on how you see your sales fluctuate over the course of time when you're looking at the entire year. So I talked about niche selling, and niche selling is basically when you sell in a particular market and maybe even scaled down to a particular item, right? So a particular market might be, you're selling women's clothing, but you may even scale that down to just like women's tops or women's jewelry or women's shoes. When you do that, it can give you some definite benefits because you really have the opportunity to understand the market. You have the opportunity to gather the information and the knowledge that you need on brands and the quality of products, the sell-through rate of products, knowing how much something should cost as far as the cost of goods, kind of knowing what the value or the going market is when you're looking to sell the item. Those things become very natural, even when it comes down to like the basics of shipping. You will pretty much know the weights of a pair of sandals and a pair of sneakers and a pair of boots, as opposed to having to second guess that if it's not something that you list as often. Another example that I would like to provide is swimwear, right? If you like to target swimwear, whether it's children, men's, women's, it's not going to matter because swimwear, although you can sell that all year round, it's likely that you will sell a lot more of it between spring and fall. So your sales will naturally increase during that time period only because the demand has increased during that time period. Of course, those other months you can still see sales because people are looking for, vacation swimwear, or they, I would say that's a big thing. Vacations are going on trips, and just the old one has tuckered out and they need a new one. And obviously it's not something you're going to find at your local store because it's just not in season. So you'll be lucky if you find it on the sales rack, discounted out, but very, very common that you'll find it still online by a reseller. So that's just kind of when I'm talking about niche selling. It is a very specific targeted merchandise that you become very familiar and knowledgeable with. And another pro to that is that you can merchandise that probably that much more easily because you become very familiar where to source your product, right? Where to get it for your best prices, the quality that you want, and all of those good things. So there's definitely a lot of pros to niche selling, but with having, the time of year that selling is in demand could certainly be a con to that. It also can limit your potential buyer scope because you are really just targeting an audience that, hey guys, you're targeting an audience that is for that specific item or, in that market. So that could be a con depending upon what platform you're selling on, because sometimes if you're selling a multitude of things, you may have one buyer come through and buy multiple things in one order. So the second type of selling is kind of categorized in two different very common ways that I've heard, and it's called garage sale selling. You go to a garage sale and they've got a little bit of everything that you can possibly get. Or they call it thrift store selling. When you go into a thrift store, likely that you will find a little bit of everything, right? So you've got the books and you've got the hard goods and you've got some games and you've got dishes and maybe towels and clothing for women and men and kids and shoes and music and all of the array of things that you can possibly find in a thrift store or at a garage sale. So you can operate your business like that. Again, in that way of operation, there are definitely some pros and cons that you will come across selling in a thrift store format. So, and I'll kind of use those two terms fluidly, right? I just use them in the same context in my mindset. So I just kind of throw that out there because it's just how I put it together in my mind in its own scrambled mess. But yes, so the couple of pros with that is you have a whole variety of items that could target a whole bunch of possible buyers, right? So people that are looking for books are coming, people that are looking for clothing are coming, people that are looking for whatever that they could be possibly looking for could possibly reach your platform and possibly make that purchase from you because you have it available. It also kind of gives me like that one-stop shop vibe, right? You can find a little something for everybody. So there's that whole angle of it. I also find it very beneficial that you really can learn a lot about different products or merchandise that is actually quite valuable out there and maybe something you knew nothing about. Of course, that does take you down this like rabbit hole of research, and sometimes you may not even know what you're looking at, but it looked cool. So then you're, starting on Google Lens. If you don't know what Google Lens is, it's basically an app that you can go on your phone. You can take a picture that you have in your photos, and it will look for similar items that look like that picture. And a lot of times, if your picture is clear and there's good lighting, it will even pull up the exact item that is for sale on eBay, on Poshmark, and on other potential websites like Amazon or Etsy, or just general other websites that are selling the product. So it's super, super beneficial, Google Lens, to be able to determine what you might have, or if you have a sandals that are in really good condition, but you're looking for a product name because it's not on the tag. That's a good way to just find information about it. But it does take time to do that, right? And if you have like a one-off pair that you've never seen before, you may never ever see again, but you're spending, the 10, 15 minutes to invest into finding out, what this product is, so that when you go to list it for sale, you can use the good keywords so that you are bringing in the audience, right? You're bringing in the customers that are looking for that item. It's really, really common for people to be searching for items specifically that they're looking for. And some people are broad searchers, right? And some, like, they're just searching for women's sandals. And then you have your very specific sandals that they may be looking for a particular mark, where their favorite pair of sandals broke and they're looking for that exact pair. And if it just so happens to be a keyword because you're selling that exact pair in their size, then it's a really beneficial for that customer to get to your product easily. Or that's one of the pros. Another pro that I see is that, when I'm having a slowdown on my summer wear, and because, summer season is over and that stuff has slowed down, then comes the potential for other things that I have for sale, like that. Maybe when I see my increase in things like backpacks, because it's back to school season, or I'll see my increase in fall wear, or I'll see my increase in some home decor that, is ready for Halloween and Christmas time, because people are starting to think about that season. So having that listed before we get too close to that season, I have found, I have amazingly sold these vintage pumpkins that squeak. They're really cute. They were in really good condition, and they sold in springtime because somebody wanted them. And I can't even remember if I listed them in the season of Halloween. I'll bet it was after. I always try to have a pile of stuff that's seasonally correct, and then sometimes I'm able to tackle it, and then sometimes I'm not. Because I am a part-time reseller. I do this on the side. I have a full-time job. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, and I have a house to take care of, and I have Lala, the parrot, who is a hoot, and I have Star, the dog. Yeah, so I'm busy, but I love reselling, and I'm always getting more merchandise faster than I'm selling it. But that's just my truth, right? I have found, I've been through a whole method of ways on how I've obtained merchandise. I have a love for certain things, and I obtain volume merchandise now, but sometimes it just can be really overwhelming. So if you have super high anxiety, or if sometimes big messes drive you absolutely insane, I wouldn't recommend volume merchandise, like pallets in volume. And my other, I buy storage units, and there's just some work, a lot of grunt work that goes into that. Sometimes it's not so hard, but sometimes it's brutal. And then there's the traveling and the loading and the unloading, and there's just work. So, but that is also another reason why I opt to do the garage sale style or the thrift store style reselling, because of how I obtain my merchandise. I know that you can be very specific when you're getting pallets. You can be very specific down to the brands that you want to purchase. I don't know if have I ever really done that? I don't think I've ever done the specific brands. I've broken it down to specific companies that I have obtained merchandise from, but it still has always given me everything from beauty to house goods to, like a case of vitamins. Thank goodness that they weren't expired. I was able to sell most of them before I had to dispose of some of them because it just didn't move fast enough. I guess I didn't discount that price quick enough. But it's just the truth be told of it. So the cons of that can be that some of the things that you may get, they're going to take you down those rabbit holes. It's going to be a little bit more time consuming. So I'm probably not as effective and efficient in my processing as I could be if I were doing niche selling. But I do enjoy coming across things that I have no idea what they are and then researching them, because then if I come across them in the wild again, I know if it's a worthwhile pickup or not. I know now more about bowling balls and outdoor sports equipment than I did 5 years ago. That's for sure. So yeah, it's just really good. It's a good, vast way of getting a lot of different information and just kind of knowing that if I ever did want to niche, I know kind of the better directions on things that sell really, really quickly for me and some things that are just long tail. Long tail basically is a reseller term where something sits for a while and it has to find the right buyer to come along to be able to purchase it. So my most recent example of a long tail sale was we found one of those musical mobiles that it probably attached to a crib at one point. I think it was Fisher Price. And it attached to a crib. It was in working condition. The little stuffies, the little animals that hung from it were still like in really, really good condition. I'm assuming it came from the 60s or the 70s. I'm leaning more towards the 70s on the time framing. It had the little screw lock box thing on the bottom and then a super long arm. So it was big and bulky, and but it was in such good condition that I just thought somebody wants this, right? So, you list it, and I think it sat around for a good 16 or 17 months before it sold, right? But it sold for a pretty good sell-through price. It sold for $75 for something that I had about $1 into. So that was a phenomenal turnaround. However, on the flip side of that is it was stored for a very long time. And it was a large item, so you're taking up space in your storage. No matter if you're renting or if you have a storage unit or if you have your own home, you use your garage, whatever it is that you're doing for storage, please do always take into account that your storage space is costing you money in some way, shape, or form, right? If you're paying rent, if you're paying your mortgage, if you're paying for a storage unit, even if you're paying taxes on the land of home that you already have paid for, you are still paying for that item to be stored. So it is something to take into account. And then also, what does your storage capacity look like? How much can you truly hang on to, and for how long before you start to feel cluttered up or overwhelmed with having merchandise around you, whether processed or not, right? So those are definitely things to take into account when you're looking at your business as a whole and how you're going to operate it and what method works for you. And at the end of the day, you know, if you're thinking about reselling, if you're already reselling and you're going deeper into it, or if you're a seasoned reseller and you're just, you know, you're making your way through the forest of it all, I don't know if there's any real rhyme or reason or real right or wrong. It really just boils down to what works for you, and for your daily life, your sanity, and your bottom line, right? Space, your family, all of those things kind of come into play when you're thinking about how you want to operate your business. So me, myself, I do really enjoy the thrift store motto just because of all the new kinds of things that I can come across. I often do pick up things, I guess I should say did pick up things. I don't make it into many thrift stores anymore because of how I obtain merchandise, and I am so very busy. But a lot of, you know, there are things that just catch your eye and you're like, ooh, and then you look it up and you're like, oh, $5. And then you look up another thing. For example, I was just going through like a little leather bathroom tote, and that came from a storage unit, and in there were some watches. So I looked those up. I think it took me like 15 minutes to look it all up, which was like a bag full of like what I call mixed jewelry, right? So the watches were all valued anywhere between $4 and $12, and they were all in really rough condition. I'll probably just lot those up in one lot as like parts only, and then just kind of put them out at one base price so that those can just move and leave that in the hands of the specialty of watch folks, right? Or maybe they can just use that as parts if they already have a watch that needs something. So, or the inner guts of a watch. I am no guru with that, but when I come across it, I'm just going to move it in a lot. So yeah, there's that. And then I came across some junky stuff, right? Like junky, cheap, broken jewelry. I came across some hemp jewelry, which I thought was kind of cool. I haven't seen that since like the 90s. So I'll probably lot that up as well because I know that it's probably a very particular market, and I may not have a lot of demand out there for that. I didn't look at that in depth. I was just kind of like sorting out value, not value, right? So, and just kind of looking at the individual pieces. And then towards the end, I come across this little bitty pendant, and it was 10 karat gold, and it was like a puffy heart, and definitely a piece that came from the 90s from Ask Gold Company. Ask, like ASK, Ask Gold Company, from the 90s, and it was just really, really cute. And I know that one piece in itself will probably go for somewhere between $75 and $90 depending upon who my buyer is. I list everything as or best offer, and sometimes I have things just 100% get, you know, sold full price, and then sometimes I have someone coming in with the offer. Depends if somebody is actually looking at that piece as a piece that they want to wear or gift to someone that they love, or if this is something that they want to scrap gold, right? So it's just going to depend on, that's going to actually be the bottom line factor on what type of buyer comes through, and how that offer might come through, or if they just buy it outright. I haven't listed it yet. I will, by the end of this week, I will get that listed. But that piece in itself, probably one of the smaller pieces in that entire bag, it was the most valuable. But I learned about Ask Gold Company. The piece itself I knew was probably at least 20 years old. It's actually probably more like 30. And I had to clean it up because it was in a bag of stuff, right? So it just needed the cleaning and the time, but it's well worth it because the return on investment in that is going to be great. So yeah, and then talking a little bit about full price sales versus, you know, offers. I like to suggest, or I like to always offer or best offer, depending upon what platform you work with. I work with eBay, I work with Poshmark, and I work with the Facebook Marketplace, and those are my prime. So on those markets and Poshmark, they will send you, or you have the opportunity to receive an offer from any potential buyer, and you can choose to accept it, you can counter offer, or you can just flat out decline it. I pretty much never flat out decline an offer. I always make a counter offer to just let them know where I'm at, and they will sometimes decline, or they'll come back and we'll teeter totter till we come to a bottom line that I guess we're both comfortable with. Sometimes I'm not going to lose a sale over a couple dollars either. 2 days ago, I was listing sandals. So I am in season. I was listing women's sandals, and I listed a pair of women's Celso Nike flip-flop sandals. And I cross-posted. I am about 80% consistency of cross-posting in the platforms that I sell on, mainly eBay and Poshmark. And then the Facebook Marketplace, I like to keep the bigger things there, like furniture type stuff. Maybe I have a few little things listed, but most of it's just bigger stuff that I know would be more challenging to ship and easier to move locally. So, but the smaller stuff that I do get a chance, I always am processing so much that I try to keep it as simplified as possible. But anyway, down that rabbit hole, let me take it back a step, and I got an offer on those Nike sandals on Poshmark. They wanted like a 50% off ask. That's what it was coming in at. And I pondered it for a second, and I was like, well, I did just list it. That was yesterday that I got the offer, and I was like, I listed it 24 hours, like not even 24 hours ago. I had listed it the night before, and this was like yesterday afternoon. So I was like, So I countered back, like an in the middle counter. And then, no kidding, within 2 minutes, a full price sale for the exact same sandals on eBay. So I had to go into Poshmark and edit the listing. So here's a piece of knowledge. If you have a pending offer, whether to you or out to a customer, and your item sells on another platform or somehow becomes broken or destroyed, or you're going to keep it, or whatever it might be, you have to go into the listing and edit it. And then when you're editing it, change the size of the item. When you change the size and then you hit save the listing, then it will eliminate all of the offers, because I think the system basically looks at it like the original listing the offer was standing on was an error. And now, because that error has been corrected, you're back to an original listing. And then I just go in and I delete it altogether. I don't flip items to not for sale and leave them in my closet, because it just kind of creates a volume that I find unnecessary. Some people love to keep that stuff. At the end of the day, it's totally up to you. But that's how you would edit or be able to delete an item. Otherwise, if you don't do that, you will not have the ability to delete the listing or make changes, those kinds of changes to it while there's any pending offers. Now, eBay is a little bit different. If you have a pending offer on eBay, you actually have to end the listing altogether if it sells on another platform, so that the potential buyer doesn't buy something that has now already sold somewhere else. And when you are cross-posting, the biggest thing that you have to be careful of is basically making sure that the item you have one of is not selling in multiple places at the same time, because obviously you're not going to be able to produce the product in both places since you only have one. So yeah, I love the full price offer when it's a little bit slower. But I think lately it hasn't been too bad. I really do have, I have a nice variety. So over the course of these last few months, I really have been moving a lot of summer stuff, shorts and dresses and swimwear and sunglasses and sneakers, sandals. So that has been something that has been consistently moving. Lately too, I've noticed an increase in some of my vinyl record sales and music. I've been bundle lotting up cassette tapes, because it just becomes a little easier. I like to bundle by artist, but sometimes that's not an option. So if you do it by genre of music, I think that that would be definitely beneficial as well. But yeah, a little bit off topic, but hey, you know, that's kind of how it goes when you're on here YouTube. I haven't been here in a while. In this summer, I try to do a little bit more of getting outside. Living in the Midwest, it is cold for like 7 months out of the year. So in the warmer months, aside from all the other busies, right, that I've got going on, I'm definitely trying to get out there and enjoy some of nature and beauty. So this year we had a trip to Colorado. I have a video of our road trip. I really tried to keep it very scenic instead of chatty, because I know that I can be a little long-winded sometimes. I also have been on a couple hikes this year. I was only able to get up a little mini video on a local state park hike that I was able to make, but I do plan to, hop to some state parks in the area, probably not traveling too far. My teenager got a job at a local food joint here, so yeah, it's definitely busy. So, and then in my 9 to 5, it has just been super crazy busy with a lot of things that have been going on, since we have been finding our way out of all of, the pandemic ways of everything and back into just what I'm now calling the new normal, right? So that has been super busy as well. So with all of that going on and still trying to feed the beast, that's what I call it, where I'm listing on these platforms, is I'm just like getting those listings up and trying to maintain as much consistency as possible so that I continue to have traffic coming into my stores so that I have consistent sales. But as they do slow down, I just take that time, if I do have a breath, to, enjoy some of the other things or try to, regulate in my business in a way that I maybe am not able to when I'm spending time focusing on packaging and all of that good stuff. But yeah, so I always appreciate just sharing my opinion and chatting it out and getting some feedback from you guys. I'm hoping to get a video up of Lala soon. I know I have some Lala lovers here. Lala is my yellow-named Amazon. He is a piece of work. He's like one of the children in the house. He's been in a mood lately, though, and he really hasn't been happy with the camera. So, I try to respect that, too. They definitely have their own personalities. So when he's in the mood, I capture it. And when he's not in the mood, I try to just let him live his best life. And Star is bad with cameras, but she's so short. Getting down on her level can be its own thing. And she loves to be in your lap, right? She doesn't love to be like in front of you or on the side. She wants to be all in your space. So hopefully I can get an update with her too. Maybe one with taking her on a walk in one of the parks. Well, as always, I do appreciate you being here. I always appreciate all of the support and the love on the channel. Thank you so much for joining us if you are brand new to the Unlimited Gear family. And if you have any thoughts, anything to add to today's topic about niche selling or the garage sale thrift store style selling, definitely drop a comment. Which way do you sell, right? Share with me which way you prefer to sell, or are you still trying to find your preference? And what are you looking forward to this summer? What are you looking forward to doing or enjoying? I definitely love interacting with all of you. So I hope that if you enjoy this video, give us a thumbs up. If you enjoy this content, definitely subscribe to the channel. Coming back for more. Trying to keep it regular and consistent. It will definitely be a variety of stuff depending upon whatever is going on. But always trying to just get content out to you and hopefully dropping a little bit of knowledge. And yeah, so thanks again. Until next time. Bye.